Okay, our group project is on social networking and online communities, and my particular project is looking at Google Plus as a social networking tool and online learning. Alright, this is the front page of my Google Plus page, and it's associated with the Botetourt County Schools accounts. This is not our student domain, and in fact we don't have this in our student domain yet, but I think we will soon. And I want to talk about the features of it. In the center of the page is the live stream, and this is information that gets fed to me, and it's generally things that I've subscribed to either by being associated with a person or with a community. So if you look down the page, you can see that I'm getting information from a number of different sources, mostly from Google for education. So how did I get that? Well, first place is from these things called communities. And communities are basically special interest groups of some kind or another. They can be formed within your organization, or they might already exist outside in the social networking realm of Google+. As you can see, I moderate one, which means I created it, and I get to decide who gets to come in or how it called elementary guidance. And the two other ones are things that I've joined, the tech department group for our school system and the VISTI online cohort, which Karen Richardson created. If you look down, there are a number that I could learn from or to apply to. I could search for the communities, and I'm kind of interested in local food. And in fact, I do a Facebook and directory for local food in the Roanoke Valley. It's got me thinking that I probably need to set up a Roanoke Valley hangout and plus community that I can integrate with my existing resources. But you can see I get all kinds of information from local food groups throughout. So let's go back. The second place where I could get information is from people. All right, these are people that I've accepted into what's called my circle. And just like Facebook, you have to accept as friends. You can see that Google Plus is suggesting a ton of people that could be my friends if I want them to. But like I say, I've invested so much time in Facebook as a social media avenue that I haven't really gotten into Google Plus that way yet. However, if you think about it, and you wanted to organize this in classes of students, and you have a Google domain with students in it, that would be a fine way to do it. It's less social and more aimed at putting together. Right now, here's my groups. They're friends, family, acquaintances, and people who are following me. You could just as easily make this first period, second period, or third period, or have a group that's associated with like facilitating digital communication in a class. So that's an overview of where the feed information is coming from on my front page. And in the next section, I'm going to cover a couple other elements of Google+. So one of the aspects of any kind of management system is how do you communicate with people. And in Google Earth, that's actually pretty straightforward. Here we have our communication, our text window, and you can see I could post text, but I could also post photos. So the photos are going to be anything you want, upload or Google Plus Photos. This is these are pictures that I had from a previous album in Picasa. There's also albums that you could find that you've uploaded, or information from your Google Drive. I've got lots of things there. Right. So again, real easy to get resources into Google Drive or into one of your online resources and share those. Links to other resources, events, and you can even do a little bit of analysis from polling. So you've got You got some interactive elements in sharing information as well. And then the second way that you can do this is through the Hangout feature, and this is your live communication synchronous tools that allow you to communicate directly with people. So in a new Hangout, I can choose to chat online with somebody who happens to be there with a text chat, or I could do a video chat, or I could do just an audio chat. And I could do this with more than one person. It could be a group Google Hangout. If you want to start a video Hangout, easy enough. All right, and who do you want to invite? It's just that simple. So if you wanted to do some synchronous video and communicate with members within a group or a class, you could do that pretty easily. Here we are on a snow day working right at home on the computer. I could be chatting with a number of different people right on the computer. So that's two ways to communicate. We've got your traditional text and resource sharing of images, pictures, video, as with groups of people, and then we can do synchronous communication with video if we want. So let's go on to the next topic, and then we'll start talking about using this in schools. Okay, so far we've seen that we can easily share information and we can communicate with members within our communities and circles either synchronously or asynchronously using Google's tools. But the one thing that we haven't seen yet is discussion forums. How is Google Plus or the Google services going to handle that as an organizational unit? And I didn't know the answer to that question because I'd never seen it, and it seemed hard to me to believe that there couldn't be that kind of feature in a product that was aiming towards the education market. And sure enough, when I went up to our application suite and I looked for more, I found Google Groups. And Google Groups allows us to create groups of discussion topics or that are aimed at particular people for discussion. So if you want to have a group discussion with particular groups of people, all you do is set them up from contacts. For instance, these groups that I have are actually email contacts that I have already in my Google account for work. And the IRT group is my colleagues who work as instructional technology resource teachers. So if I go to that and do new topic, you're going to see a very familiar window that is the discussion topic. Alright, so my first post, which is going to allow me to begin a discussion. And to complete the discussion, I'm just going to post it. Alright, now the other thing about that is all of this stuff integrates into the Google email domain. So not only am I going to get this discussion thread in the Google Groups, when I go back to the IRT group, there's going to be a threaded list of discussions here. I'm going to get notifications in my email account that someone has responded to the group. That's also true. Probably could happen with Blackboard and setup. But so yeah, the same features for discussion groups that are so important for online learning also exist in the Google domain and can be used through Google+. So discussion forums are taken care of through the Google Groups discussions. How about the other tool that we've used as an organizational tool and communication tool, and the wiki? Well, if you use Google and you've used wikis, you probably already know that that's not that big a deal. If we go to our apps one of the things that we have in our Google domain and we've used in our class is the Google Drive. So any document that we create and we share with editing privileges with anybody in a group could end up just being a wiki. That's not really a problem. If we do a Google Doc and create a new one, and I'll just call this one Wiki 1. And all I have to do is share it with editing privileges. And that person has all the privileges to edit and add information to it, just as you would in a wiki in Blackboard or in Moodle or any other wiki kind of thing that you do it, with the added advantage of being able to see revisions in the documents as time goes on through the revision history, which you have in this portion right here. So in fact, I think that would even be a little bit more powerful tool, a little bit more easy for group members to use for that kind of thing. Alright, it's worth mentioning one other application or service that Google offers that makes the Google domain attractive. I'm going to start in my plus area, and I'm going to move to my application stamp over here. And we recently installed this app for education called Google Classroom. And what this does is it allows you to leverage the features of Google Drive and the collaborative environment a little bit more seamlessly with your students. So in this case, one of my colleagues created a class and sent me an invitation to join the class. And it allows the teacher to control basically groups of students, have students drop assignments into her pre-made folders, which are basically part of her Google Drive system. And students only get access to those things. She's able to collaborate with them. The cool thing about this is that it's likely that the Google Classroom will continue to develop. One of the drawbacks right now that I could see is that there's no assessment tool. There's no way to keep track of grades or to communicate with students with numerical grades in any way. Of course, you can make your own spreadsheets and share them out as you want, but most learning management systems have a way to take care of that, whereas the Google environment and even Google Classroom doesn't quite yet seem to have that.